help you throw that? No, you don't want to. You don't want me to throw it. Okay. Well, you could just go show Wally. Hey friends, Alessandra here. It is the end of July, and I have some updates to share about the state of the garden, and obviously the Magidome has a little bit of a thing going on. This is our probably our last of our cooler days. We had a lot of rain on the forecast, which didn't really rain. It just kind of had a lot of clouds, I guess. We certainly didn't get a ton here, but I wanted to share some updates about our tumblers up here because this one's been in for about a year and in a couple months, and this one I think just hit its 1 year marker. And I just kind of wanted to show you where we were at with those because in Florida we were doing a crazy amount of our food waste going into our composters, and it was going really well. But out here we've just been having some problems. So this is our original tumbler, and I do periodically turn it like you're supposed to. And this side here, doing pretty good. You can't really tell how much heat is coming off of it, but it looks pretty good. And then when we get to the other side, well, it's not doing as good. There's plenty of paper in there, and there is some heat coming out of it, but not a ton. And these tumblers are great because you can look at the sides and make sure they're sealed to keep some of the heat in, but obviously there's vents and stuff, so you are losing some. But really we're losing not so much heat. The heat isn't a problem, it's the humidity and the moisture levels, because in Florida that was never an issue, but here it's so dry that I literally have to water these. So these plants up here go, I mean, they're in earth boxes, right? We water them whenever we can, but I use a hose on a different side of the house so I can water them. And whenever I come up here to water these guys, well, you can tell I still have the hose here. I just water the tumblers, and in theory that works really great, except for it's just so dry here. So even if I put a ton of food scraps in, it doesn't seem to be able to keep up enough. So this side, this one, you could tell like how easy I'm moving it with one hand. There's hardly any weight to it. You could tell, I put the food scraps in, but essentially the paper that we had put in just kind of absorbs whatever, and then the rest of it just dries out. This side, not a ton better. And I just watered this like a day or two ago, and it's been humid. So I think if we were putting in a lot more food scraps, maybe, and just like overfilling it, that might work, but we're just not generating as much as we were before, just because I changed diets and stuff like that. So they're not hurting anything, they don't smell, they just aren't making as much compost as our stuff in Florida. So I don't think, we haven't harvested anything because none of it's been ready to harvest, but yeah, these sat out all winter. We just kept adding when we could, but not sure that I would recommend these in a dry climate like Colorado. Florida, absolutely. The South, absolutely, but maybe not out here. So we're over here. These have been doing really good, and last year these were the ones that surprised me the most, these earth boxes, just because they're a little bit, well, I have to walk up the hill to go check on them, but towards the end of the summer these did really well. I know the pentas isn't, or no, those aren't the pentas. Oh gosh, what are these? Oh, we had these in Florida. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Those are not perennials here, they're annuals. So I went ahead and just threw some squash seeds in, pumpkin seeds in, just to see what happens. Kind of curious. This vine is a series, I got a handful of different vines that said they were aggressive, and I was like, perfect. And it took a little while to get going. I doubt it'll get super huge because, it's end of July, beginning of August. So if we have first freeze or first frost in October, these can only get so big. But this is a marigold. I don't remember what color, but I know it's marigold coming in. So I'm hoping we get some nice color with some of these. I know when I ordered a bunch of vines, and I ordered a ton of different vines, I was specifically looking for ones that would be good for our pollinator friends, because butterflies aren't so much of a thing out here like they were in Florida. I very rarely see butterflies, but supposedly the hummingbirds and the hummingbird moths is where it's at out here. Looking at the garden from the other end, our strawberries, I'm still shocked that they overwintered. I think that's incredible. But they are sending out their runners because it's about that time. So last year we overwintered this top 2 tiers in our green stalk. This year I'm only letting the runners get down to the 3rd level because they're connected, right? So we have to be able to pick up all 3 layers at the same time potentially. But the runners are good because that makes us more plants for the future. So I'm trying really hard to encourage them, and sometimes putting 1 or 2 strawberries per pocket. You okay, Wally? Did you eat some grass again? I had some old nasturtium seeds, so they got thrown in down there. And some more vines. I gotta look at the names. I honestly put so many in. I was just like, whatever will grow. And most of them took a long time to germinate. This is the same as the one down there. But I just kind of made a makeshift trellis here for them to train onto, because I wanted something cascading and growing, but they did not grow as quickly as I thought they would. So we're just going to have them grow here because I don't think they're going to grow where I wanted them. Aspirationally, I would have loved to have like a bar connecting to our stuff up here so they could just kind of grow up and over, but I don't think they're going to grow quick enough for that, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Now, on this green stalk, I do have one of the vine supports, but I obviously just have the one, so I figured we'll let that one take over, see how it does. I bought petunias at the nursery just for some color, and I'm really glad I did. They're doing really good. I'm glad I added them, and like I put dill seeds in, just kind of hoping for the best with the strawberries, and no swallowtail caterpillars or anything that I've seen. Definitely no eggs, so not shocking. And we did talk about these blueberries last time that I was so optimistic, but I don't think this one's doing well at all. This one kind of has some growth on it a little bit. I'm not sure what'll end up happening, and so I'm not sure if we'll end up having to overwinter that or not. But I noticed that 1 or 2, this is, I think I checked on this, yeah, this was a crab apple, and then what was this one? Yeah, some of our Arbor Day Foundation survived. Most of the seeds, what are they, seedling saplings, do not look like they're still alive. Definitely not any of the, well, those, I think we had some of those fir trees here. Yeah, they lost all of their needles just pretty much immediately. So that's unfortunate. Like here's one. You can tell he's not really doing great. So not sure how those will survive through winter. Wally's waiting to go in. He knows dinner's coming. Our maker pipe shade has been doing really good. You can tell we're getting a little bit of sag here. We had some hail the other day. It really stretched over here, but you know what? It saved the plants. I mean, it was small hail, like pea-sized hail, but it did what it needed to do. None of the plants got damaged, so this 30% is clearly still doing great. It wasn't too much shade for these guys. The raspberries did okay. It's interesting because they sent out a ton of new growth instead of filling out for the smaller ones, but the bigger one just went crazy. So I'm not really sure what to expect. We are going to try to overwinter those because obviously they were expensive and, plants. Our roses doing pretty good. Some are growing more than others, obviously. The one in the middle is still pretty tiny. We've only gotten roses off of that one over there, which is our celestial mite, and I posted them on Instagram. They were cute. Hoping we get some, like 1 or 2 roses this year. That would be great out of these before frost. Obviously the red is good growth, and then like here, this is the newest section on here. They seem to be doing good, and I wanted to mention this because like the ones on the end, those had existing buckets with the normal potting mix that I used. But if you guys remember, some of these down here, they got our homemade blend with the coconut coir, manure, etc., etc. They're clearly doing good, but our blueberries were not, which is so strange. And so, keeping that in mind, I had reached out to Fast Growing Trees where I got them because they have warranties, and they're like, well, sometimes, they're helping. Department was really great. We troubleshooted some things. I sent them the specs of the container and whatever, and they were like, sometimes plants just don't take well to the shipment or whatever, so we'll send you some more if you want. So they gave me a credit. They didn't have the same ones, so I got some different ones, and I thought, okay, well, my little helper over there. So they sent me these, or I got these. They sent them to me. So I only had to pay for the shipping, which was great. And I was like, well, we'll leave all of the containers in the same places. And I was like, I'm not going to do anything different. I'm not going to add anything different. I'm just going to put the same plants in the same containers, same plants, and we'll just go from there and see what happens. Well, less than a week, or maybe a weekend, I started seeing this kind of discoloration show up again. And I'm like, okay, clearly something is wrong with the containers. I don't know how it works, but I was like, whatever, we'll try something different. So I emptied all of the soil out, got my go-to potting mix, and did not add any fertilizer, no dolomite, just the perlite that we use for drainage and the soil that we've been using literally for years. Moved them both over here. This one had been in the shade the whole time. This one had been over on the other side. I'll show you. This one that's been here in the shade longer seems to have been recuperating quicker. This one has only been over here for a little while. I'm hoping it will recuperate. Hard to tell. So I'm thinking the sun is probably a contributing factor, not our only issue, but a contributing factor. Who knows? Who knows what's going on? But they're over here. I hope they bounce back. This one looks promising. This one, the jury's still out. But it was very helpful to have the Fast Growing Trees team kind of talk through. I told them everything I put in it, the fertilizer, everything. So it makes me feel better that they weren't like, oh, blatantly, yes, you did that wrong. So, it's probably more environmental than we realize. This is our citrus tree that I'm trying so hard. I've been trying since the pandemic to get fruit off of one of these trees. It's gotten a ton of great growth. Loves this spot. So I'm not going to move it till it's time to move it inside for frost purposes. But this is our finger lime, key lime trees. Love this so much. Spiky, hurtful if you try to move it, but it's got some great growth on it. And I mean, look how healthy the leaves look. I mean, those are just, that's the dream. That's what you want. And it did put out a couple sets of blooms, but it was too cold for our pollinators here to really be out and about. So we never got anything pollinated, unfortunately, and my finger brushing just didn't work. And probably the most obvious what is going on update is our Magidome. The structure itself is doing great. No complaints about the structure. But obviously plastic is susceptible to the elements, and when we noticed that there was some wind starting to pick it up, even though we were trying to go in and restaple, the wind was just getting caught and it was just starting to tear, and once it tore in one spot, it really just continued. So I've been coming out and kind of going through it section by section and pulling out the plastic and obviously the insulation that's been in here, or for the stuff that we did with like bubble wrap. And don't worry if it's relatively clean plastic like it is here. I've been saving it along with the bubble wrap because in a month or two we're going to have to be recovering all of this for the next winter season. So I thought, let's not be wasteful. Like obviously the stuff with mold we're not going to keep, but like this section, this big panel here is clean, and we can use that as part of our insulation. And like you guys saw last year, we got a big roll of this plastic, and so we have it in the garage ready to go whenever the time comes. And I think a few things like to note for us for the future, at least the hail that we got the other day, we've had a few little bits of hail, most of it's pea size. None of it, as far as we can tell, none of it punctured the dome. Like even the parts on the top, there were no holes in it. So it clearly was able to stand up to some layer of hail, which is incredible, especially considering it's out in the sun. So that's great. The tricky part is, I think, is these staples. The staples obviously keep the plastic down, but it also provides areas for, the wind to pull them up, and obviously it's not completely sealed. So it's kind of like you want to put a bunch of staples down so it stays secure and it doesn't pick up the wind. But on the other hand, for every staple you add, you're potentially compromising it, and it can get pulled up and lose heat. So I don't know any way around that with this particular setup. I have been thinking about it. If you guys have any suggestions, let me know. And this year we are going to try to double layer insulation like what we have over there. We did it in some panels because we had enough bubble wrap, but I'm hoping with some of this plastic that we're going to upcycle and use as filling, we'll be able to insulate better, because we still hit 0 degrees in here, even with it sealed up. Now, obviously it was colder outside, but I'd like to try to keep this a little bit warmer every year by learning and improving. But structurally, it's doing really good. There's a little bit of mold where the recent rain started to build up inside. I think that's only been a recent issue because we don't normally get a ton of rain. So I think if we had pulled the cover off sooner, we wouldn't have had that water damage. But it's not really that bad. But this is actually one of the raspberries, or the raspberry that we got shortly after we moved here. It overwintered, and I gotta say, I've never had fresh berries like this in my yard, but I love coming out in the morning and just kind of foraging and picking one or two and getting to enjoy them. That's been really nice. Our perennial tower, except for obviously the petunias, is doing really good. A lot of the plants that I got at the local sale, God only knows what the names of them are, but they're taking really well and they're getting some good established roots. Let me show you the side over here. I don't know if you could tell, but these have these beautiful like little pink stalks that are really, really tiny, delicate flowers. They haven't made a ton of flowers yet or anything, but they seem to just bloom a lot, and I hope the roots are establishing. Like, this one hasn't had any flowers yet, but I can tell it's expanding, so it's growing. That's good. I want before winter. I'd rather have it get more established and then bloom next year and not die on me. But yeah, I'm really excited to see this perennial tower and what makes it over the winter time, because obviously, we had these pink flowers up top. They made it over and that one too. They made it over the winter with me just periodically watering. So if I'm gonna water, might as well have some more plants in there. What do you think, Wally? You want to be part of the update? Oh, I'm sorry, poke you in the face. Hello, bud. Thank you. Yeah, I know. You saying hi? That was really nice of you. Everybody wants to say hi to you too. You're so cute. Okay, I'm almost done. I gotta give everybody the updates. Now, we made another one of our maker pipe covers over here for shade, and this definitely made a huge difference. I can tell just because this area just got annihilated last year, and it's like this raspberry bush. This is the bigger raspberry bush, same one as the other ones, but just the larger one. We got some nice raspberries here of the raspberry shortcake. Very good. You can tell, we're getting the evening sun over here, and it's really starting to get lighter on this side, which makes sense. This one just went crazy. I easily got handfuls of berries at peak season just a few weeks ago. I'm so glad we got those, and I'll definitely consider more bushel and berry raspberries in the future because they've just been so great. I absolutely loved it. I am so pleased to tell you guys that our apple tree, with all of the different varieties on it, we had, what was it? Yeah, the combination. We had Honey Crisp, I think this was the Gala, yep, and Ambrosia. Those are all grafted into one. I was really worried about the Honey Crisp. It did not have any signs of life, and I was like, oh no, it didn't make it through the winter, but it did. No signs of fruiting or anything, which is fine. It's still a baby tree. I'm not, nobody's shocked. Our weeping tree here, that one's doing really good. Cannot figure out why it's so imbalanced. but I don't really care. It's doing a good job. It's making pretty leaves. That's all I can ask for. Our roses from last year, these are doing okay. This is the Sweet Spirit. Got one or two blooms off of it so far. Nothing crazy. And our honeysuckle has only had one or two flowers as well, but it's finally starting to grow. And I'm trying to train it up this trellis. I am going, anything in these root and veg earth box containers, these square ones, other than the raspberries we saw earlier, I am going to try real hard to fit in the dome this year. Will it all fit? I don't know, but we're going to try real hard. And this stuff, I put so many different seeds in here. Interestingly, the squash and pumpkins are the only things that seem to have taken really well. This, I gotta go look at my notes, but this one I think has only been in, yeah, this is the cup and saucer vine. I started from seedling, and it was another one of those vines where I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea. It said it was an aggressive grower online, but I mean, everything seems to grow so much slower here. Aggressive doesn't seem to be aggressive enough, but the flowers were really pretty in the picture, so hopefully we get that someday. And of course some petunias just to give us a little bit of color over here. None of the petunias that I started from seed got very far. So we're going to do better next year. I don't know exactly what we're going to do differently, but we're going to try to do things differently. But my hope was this year we could get the structure up and hopefully get some vining plants, because I would love to be able to have like an actual vining plant up and over here. I don't know if that's feasible the way things grow out here. I know Florida wouldn't have been an issue, but here we are, Colorado life. All right, friends. Well, that concludes our end of July garden tour. I hope your gardens are doing good and you're preparing for your fall harvest. If you're fall planting anything, you've got those in the ground or will be soon. But yeah, things are going pretty good, all things considered over here. We're pretty lucky to have so many things we can test and play with over here. But before you know it, we're going to be prepping for another winter season. So it'll be all hands on deck trying to get the Magidome covered again, because it looks a little rough right now, doesn't it? But that's okay, that's part of the process. So all right, friends, well, I got some hungry puppies who want dinner, so I'm gonna go take care of them. Hope you're doing good. We'll see you next time.